I was wrong. I was wrong about making pizzas. I made hundreds of pizzas over 4 decades. The problem always was not necessarily the final crust. It was how to shape the dough and get it into the oven. If you start to overwork pizza dough even a little bit, it's not going to rise and puff up in the oven or on the grill, and it's going to be tough. I hate a tough pizza. So after some travels in the Middle East where they make flatbreads very often with yogurt, I thought, well, let's make it really easy to work with dough that's soft, that doesn't pull back. Yogurt helps to do that, as does the olive oil. It adds some fat to the dough, and the dough is relaxed and it's easy to work with. Then we also have a little bit of salt, we have a little bit of sugar, and we have a packet of instant or rapid rise yeast. If you use regular active yeast, that's fine, but then this mixture should be about 110, 105 degrees. And you'd put the yeast on top of this along with the sugar, and you would let that sit until it starts to bubble about 5 minutes. Now we're gonna drizzle in the water, yogurt, olive oil mixture. Now you're gonna notice as I work this that it's gonna look like it's a very well hydrated, that is, there's a lot of water in this dough. 1.5 cups of water to 4 cups of bread flour. And by the way, you gotta weigh your flour in this recipe. It's 546 roughly grams of flour, because if you weigh it with a measuring cup, you'll get it all wrong. It's gonna look wet. And wet doughs like focaccia are gonna end up giving you a nice bubbly crust when it bakes. So it is gonna be on the wet side. It's been roughly 10 minutes. Now you're gonna notice that this dough is sticky. It doesn't look like a typical bread dough, for example. Normally, I would take this out, I'd put it on a floured surface, I'd knead it for a minute or so by hand and wrap it, but this is a sticky dough, so this is an easier way to handle it. Just leave it in the bowl and cover it, and we're gonna let it double in size. Depends on the temperature of your kitchen. In a summer day, it might take just an hour, but it should be no more than an hour and a half. In a cold kitchen, it could be longer. By the way, if you do a lot of bread dough, you can get plastic containers that have straight sides with markings, or you can just put a marker on it yourself, so you can actually be sure you're doubling in size. If I'm going to cut something into pieces, I find instead of doing a roll or a rectangle, it's easy to do it. If it's in a round, it's hard to figure out. So I'm going to cut this into 4 pieces because it's going to make 4 pizzas. Try to get that about right. Inevitably, it'll be slightly off. So I'm just trying to bring the edges in underneath, form a taut ball like that. And we're going to flour this as well. And we're going to let that sit into the balls, roughly double in size, which would take 20, 25 minutes. It depends on your kitchen. It could take longer than half an hour, but in my kitchen, that's about how long it takes. Just push it out like this, and it will come out to the right size. It's also not gonna snap back at you, which is the whole point of this dough, is that it's not gonna give you a hard time. We have some cherry tomatoes cut in half. We're gonna salt them, and then we're gonna squeeze the tomatoes to get some of those extra juices out as well. So the hottest oven you can get, 500, 550, for 10 to 12 minutes. We tried pizza stones. We like the steel ones best. A little oil, a little more parm, and a little bit. So this is gonna be hot. Hear the crunch. You know, the great thing about this is it's easy to shape, but because it's a high hydration dough, you get the best of both worlds, right? I mean, you get the crispy, chewy, bubbly crust, and you get a dough you can actually shape.